I don't even know where to start this. Been waking up having some heavy dreams, heavy thoughts, and I feel like it's my obligation to share truthfully. And truthfully, it's kind of scary even to share some of these thoughts, but you're not going to hear them very many places, I don't think. You turn on the TV, you see violence, you see strife, you see division, you see hate. You might see some love occasionally, but it's usually the kind of love that's sold and packaged and sold to us in stores and around holidays, and it's sold as like this feeling. But I mentioned this before: love isn't a feeling. Sure, you can get caught up if you want to divide it and you want to talk about agape, and then when you talk about the Greek definition of love, it's actually quite a few different things. You got phileo, the brotherly love; the storge, the familial love; the eros, which is the that's more like the romantic type love, which kind of gets we kind of just lump most things into that type of thing, which is like a feeling and it comes from emotion. But love is truth beyond anything. And it's like when you have a kid and they're getting ready to burn their hand in fire, you're not gonna, they think it looks fun, but you're not gonna let them do that. It might be a bad example. There's plenty of examples of things that we do in this self-indulgent world that can hurt us. And if you don't have someone that loves you, telling you, trying to protect you from it, then you will continue to do those things and lead yourself down a path of destruction. I mean, I love drinking. I love to gamble. I love sex. Like, who doesn't? All these things, but they lead you away from the truest source of love. And the funny thing is, these thoughts, I'll try to bring them all together, started when I was just looking at my cats. I missed my dog. He died over a year ago. I ended up with two cats. I grew up with cats and dogs. But I just sit there and look at these cats, and you just, how many times you see a picture or a meme of a dog or a cat or any kind of animal, especially domesticated ones, and they just look so happy. The ones that aren't in captivity and aren't being abused, of course. But they just look so happy and content. They eat, they play, they sleep, rinse and repeat every day. That's their life. You're like, oh, tough life, right? But they could just as easily run out into the street ignorantly, unknowingly, and get hit by a car and maybe sit there and suffer. They could go through catastrophic pain and agony in the physical sense, just like you and I can. The difference is they don't have that free will. How many times have you seen like a dog that's just like the sweetest dog and they'll have an owner that just beats it? Like I had a neighbor one time, he would jump on its dog's neck when it was bad. And people would call and report him, but it was his dog, and the dog still loved him unconditionally. The dog still like worshipped him because it didn't know any better. It didn't have free will. You don't see dogs questioning like their gender or their, like there's so many difficult topics now, and I'm not here to debate them, but I am here to say love is a choice. You have to choose to love. But we get caught up in feelings and what makes us feel good, and that's what the world pushes on us because there's two opposing forces. There's two opposing wills chasing our soul. Our eternal destination is counting on it. You think this is the only life you're going to live. It's not. This is such a temporary place. But back to the cats. They could suffer an agonizing death and die, right? Just like dogs, just like any animals. And so could we. But how many times have you been in like such mental anguish, such emotional pain, where those stab wounds from a relationship loss, from the stress of like losing a job and you're going to lose your house, and just how much is that emotional pain? How much deeper does that cut than any type of physical pain? And the beauty of what Jesus Christ did on the cross is he suffered that physical pain, and that's what we'll focus on that when this week, Holy Week, leading up to his crucifixion on Friday, and then he rose again, and that's the good news, and that's why so many people were willing to die to spread it. But he was willing to take that physical pain, but it wasn't just physical pain, it was the emotional pain, because God took our fallen fleshly form to also experience that emotional pain, that humiliation. He could have stopped everything happening to him at any point, but he took it. He took the emotional abuse. You don't think he had any pride down there? He wanted to just shut them up. Of course he did. We live in a world where we're kind of told and just taught and conditioned to be self-empowered and to stand up for ourselves and to do that. And you should stand up for yourself, especially when anyone is like trying to take advantage of you or manipulate you or whatever. But there is a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. You don't want to use people. You want to act from humility. And there's just a lack of that today. And so much of that, we see animals around us as an example. They are going to love you to a fault because they don't have a choice. They don't. They're programmed that way. They lack the free will. We have the free will, but the problem is we get all the definitions of what love, what tolerance, of what God is. But if God is love, love is truth, and truth hurts. Love hurts. You can love somebody but not like them, but to love them is to try to save them from themselves sometimes, because our free will, it's going to take us one of two paths. It's going to take us towards love or away from love. But you can't get caught up in this idea that love is a feeling and you can enjoy it and just have it here and there's not going to be any consequences, because you have to choose to love. So when one person's definition of what love is conflicts with somebody else's definition of what love is, when one person is just getting caught up in this feeling, I love to do this, it's my choice, my prerogative, okay. But love is not just a feeling. Love is a choice. It's an action we have to make. And love is God. God is love. So you want to be moving closer to Him, living in His love and His grace, and not towards what makes us happy now. Because you get caught up in that emotional place where you just don't know what truth is. I mean, if I want to bring up a heavy topic, and not my favorite thing, this is where fear could easily jump in, and I wouldn't bring it up because I don't want to deal with like answering questions that I don't have the answers to or that I don't feel comfortable taking. But we're talking about defining what a male and female is. Like, are you serious? There's always going to be an exception to the norm. Like there'll be things that happen out of nature and just out of all the byproducts of man's interference with natural law. But you've got X and Y chromosomes. We have male and female. There can be confusion, and I'll never hate on anyone who is dealing with anything like that. I've got my own things I deal with. I'm not here to broadcast them now, but I do share them and open up and being vulnerable and sharing what makes us human, what makes us the broken beings that we are, is what we're supposed to do collectively to make us feel whole, to make us feel that idea of what love is. But we have such a finite mind and such a finite body that we can't even comprehend the infinite glory of God. And that's what this week is all about. It's God came down and took our form. We were created in His image, but He took on the body of a man, Jesus Christ, and experienced the human experience. The infinite took on the finite and blended those worlds to show us that love is not a feeling. Love is truth, and you have to be walking towards truth. And it's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. But if you see somebody walking towards something that isn't love, but is in fact away from it, if you don't speak up, you're just as guilty in whatever happens than that person. So I don't know if that's ambiguous, if that's just too indirect. Though that's the majority of the thoughts I've had now, but just we were given free will. And what that really means is you can choose to love, you can choose to bask in, like, God wants us to have a loving relationship with Him. And we have to choose that, because in this world, that's not going to be easy. My flesh wants to do everything that my spirit does not. You know, Paul says it best. It's like, you know, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. That's true for all of us. We all have our broken condition, and we all have things that are pulling us away from God. Just certain issues are getting inflamed right now because they're very easy issues to do that. But you have to realize there's principalities, there's wickedness in high places who is causing that and creating that tension and that division. And it's a direct attack against God and his creation. The marvel of the universe and the way it is so finely tuned cannot be explained by chance. It was made by free will, infinite God who created the perfect just environment for us to be able to experience free will and his love if we choose it. But it's not always easy. Hopefully that made sense. I'll leave it there for now. I really hope you're having a great Tuesday. God bless you. Happy Easter week. I'll talk to you soon.